In this video, we'll talk about the neuromuscular transmission, and these are the learning outcomes where we'll outline the structure of the neuromuscular junction, describe the sequence of events, that is the pre-junctional events in neuromuscular transmission, describe the sequence of events, post-junctional events in the neuromuscular transmission, state the significance of motor nerve and the neuromuscular junction to skeletal muscle function, and state the mechanisms that lead to blocking of the neuromuscular transmission. The relationship of the motor nerve to the muscle is what we are going to first discuss, where you can see here the somatic motor pathways have a single neuron which originates in the central nervous system and projects its axon to the target tissue, which is called as the skeletal muscle. The cell bodies of the somatic motor neurons are located in the ventral horn of the spinal cord and in the brain, and the long axon projects to the skeletal muscle, and these axons are myelinated. The motor neuron, when it comes closer to the skeletal muscle fiber, divides into many branches very close to the muscle, and each branch will innervate a muscle fiber. So one branch of an axon innervates one muscle fiber, and one muscle fiber receives innervation from one motor branch only. And one motor nerve axon, that is this motor nerve axon, has got several branches. Thus one motor nerve will innervate many skeletal muscle fibers. Coming to the next one, where you should know the definition of motor unit. A motor unit consists of a single motor neuron which has its cell body in the spinal cord or in the brainstem nuclei, and it has its axon fibers along with its branches and the muscle fibers it innervates. That is called as a single motor unit. So it is one motor neuron and its axon, all the branches of the axon, and all the muscle fibers supplied by the branches. The cell bodies of the motor neurons supplying the skeletal muscle fibers lie in the ventral horn of the spinal cord or the motor cranial nuclei. Motor unit is the functional unit of the skeletal muscle contraction in the intact body, and all muscle fibers of the motor unit contract together. So this branching structure allows a single motor neuron to control many muscle fibers at a time. Now coming to the microscopic anatomy of the neuromuscular junction. The neuromuscular junction has got three components. You can see here, this is the presynaptic terminal of the motor neuron, which is filled with the synaptic vesicles and also has the mitochondria. There is a gap between the two membranes, that is the synaptic cleft, and the other membrane is called as the postsynaptic membrane of the skeletal muscle fiber. So the three components include the motor neuron presynaptic terminal, the synaptic cleft, and the postsynaptic membrane of the skeletal muscle fiber, which is this yellow in color. Now coming to the presynaptic part, which is called as the terminal button. Now the somatic motor neuron axon loses its myelin sheath and ends in a small swelling, which is the dilated portion here called as the terminal button. And this terminal button contains a large number of vesicles which are having the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. In addition to the vesicles with the acetylcholine molecule, it also has the mitochondria. Then coming to the junction between the two membranes is called as the synaptic cleft, which is a 50 to 100 nanometer wide space between the presynaptic membrane and the postsynaptic skeletal muscle membrane. This synaptic cleft is filled with matrix and also contains the enzyme acetylcholine esterase enzyme, which hydrolyzes or deactivates acetylcholine by degrading it into acetyl-CoA and choline. Coming to the post-synaptic membrane, the muscle fiber membrane is called as the sarcolemma. In the region of the neuromuscular junction, the sarcolemma is thickened and it is depressed. The thickened portion is called as the motor end plate. And there are series of folds here. You can see the depression and upstroke, depression, upstroke, that is called as the area which is called as the palisades. So these are series of folds of the membrane at the motor end plate, which we call it as the palisades, which look like shallow gutters. At the upper edge of the gutter, you can see there is the receptor for acetylcholine molecule, which is called as the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor channels, and they are present at the upper edge of the gutter at the palisades. So the postsynaptic membrane contains the receptor sites for acetylcholine, and it is called as the nicotinic receptor.